Tonight, stocks tumble as all sides dig in for a rising trade war. The markets sell off with the midnight deadline just hours away. The president threatens Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs. Will he go through with it? And why it could raise the price of new cars by thousands of dollars. Winter wildfires, the state of emergency in the Carolinas as people are forced to evacuate their homes near Myrtle Beach. The sky's red with fire, giant columns of smoke in the air. The rush to contain it tonight as new fires pop up. Plus, the major news storm threatening Mardi Gras and millions across the country. The deep chill with Ukraine as President Zelensky warns a peace deal could be very, very, very far away. In the aftermath of an Oval Office blow-up, the concern about Trump's relations with Putin, why European leaders are preparing for the worst. Another driver goes at high speed into a crowd in Germany. What we know. False alarms. Pilots in Washington airspace get false warnings just a month after that mid-air collision. Let's see some ID. The big change coming to licenses and how you fly soon, but millions aren't ready. And finally, behind the lens with a photographer whose images from Saturday Night Live are as iconic as the sketches themselves.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. While known for stretching the edges of brinkmanship, President Trump tonight insists there is no room left for Canada or Mexico to escape stinging new American tariffs. Facing the Trump administration's midnight deadline for concessions, the two close U.S. allies bracing to absorb Trump's threatened 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada. The news triggering a sharp sell-off on Wall Street, where the Dow lost close to 650 points today. The S&P 500 posting its biggest losses since December. The president also signaling he's not done, still threatening to impose reciprocal tariffs starting a month from now. It all comes amid gathering flashes of weakness in the American economy. Our Christine Romans is in Michigan tonight looking at the broader impact of the new tariffs, including a place where the rubber meets the road. Christine, good evening.
Good evening, Lester. Shares of U.S. automakers fell, but so did chip makers and other companies now really worried about a potential trade war. And tonight, President Trump raising tariffs on most goods from China by another 10%. With only hours to go, 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico seem all but certain.
The tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
American auto companies bracing for big new costs. This factory in Livonia, Michigan, churns out 205 million auto parts a year.
This will get put into one of our nut assemblies.
Chuck Dardis is president and COO. He buys 30% of his materials from Canada. Chuck, tariffs on Canadian goods mean what for you and your business?
It means dramatically increased costs that we might not be able to recover.
The auto industry more sensitive to tariffs than most. It relies on cross-border tariff-free trade, rules written in President Trump's first term. The new tariffs inject big new costs and uncertainty into a supply chain still grappling with higher than normal inflation.
It's very alarming to us and many, many, many others.
Tariffs are taxes paid at the border by importers who either eat the cost themselves or pass some or all of it onto their customers and ultimately consumers. Tariffs could raise prices for the average new car by at least $4,000 and up to $12,000. Trump has cited fentanyl flow as a reason for the tariffs.
I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico: if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here.
And more tariffs are coming. On March 12th come new duties on steel and aluminum. The president has threatened the European Union and virtually every American trading partner. For now, high anxiety here in the auto industry, where parts and components in a completed car or truck have likely crossed borders multiple times. This isn't a wrinkle in your business. This is...
Oh, this is not a wrinkle. It's a wicked problem.
Christine Romans, NBC News, Livonia, Michigan.
All right, let's turn now to the wildfires in the Carolinas, which have been hit hard by the erratic flames as wind conditions and dry conditions wreak havoc on the region. NBC's Emily Aketa has the latest from Myrtle Beach.
Tonight, first responders in the Carolinas fighting for the upper hand as a rash of wildfires sweeps across this drought-stricken landscape, now obscured by heavy smoke. Helicopters dumping water from above, while crews on the ground race to douse hot spots.
Fire can go from just creeping along the ground to way up over your head in just a matter of a few minutes.
Spreading near Myrtle Beach, this is the biggest fire South Carolina has seen in at least 5 years, and among more than 175 blazes that burned across the state this weekend, according to the governor, declaring a state of emergency.
Fire's jumping this way right now.
First responders going door to door to evacuate hundreds of panicked residents.
Mimi.
Now allowed to return.
What should we be looking at here? A fence.
Valerie Marr realizing just how close the flames came to her home.
What's going through your mind?
I'm devastated, but I'm happy also that, the Lord has saved my house and the firefighters have saved my house.
The weekend's wind gusts approaching 30 miles an hour also powered several hundred fires in Georgia and North Carolina. Dozens of homes evacuated in Tryon just several months after the region was rocked by Helene's devastating flooding. That debris now fueling the flames. Meantime, a new threat moving into the southern plains, where 11 million people are under fire alerts. Back in South Carolina, firefighters gaining ground after a weekend of close calls.
No structures lost.
You want to give me back my money? All right, then let's go. See you guys later.
All right, y'all. Take care. Ooh, that was good. Turkey, bacon, cheeseburger. You want to open up your own burger joint?
Don't try to be my friend. I'm gonna get you back. And Kevin, too.
Hey, you got me. Look, let me just come straight and get Kevin.
Good. Yes! Faking like you're joking. I like it. Keep it up, keep it up. He's coming. Yes, honey! Dad, are you okay? Did you need something, sweetheart?
Very thankful for that.
Emily joins us now live from Myrtle Beach, where I'm told the wind conditions have improved. Emily.
Lester, that's right, but concerns remain tonight over the dry conditions, which is why you'll see fire sprinklers and helicopter water drops throughout the area. Officials say there have been no homes and businesses that have been totally destroyed, but they want to prevent further damage to homes like this one. Lester.
Emily Aketa, thank you. We're also tracking a winter storm that could put 11 million people at risk for severe weather tonight. The number grows to 27 million people tomorrow when it moves across the south. Dangerous storms could bring strong tornadoes, wind gusts, large hail, and wind gusts up to 75 miles an hour. Now to news just in. A top FBI official has retired under pressure. Our Tom Winter is here. Tom, it comes amid a growing battle over revealing agents who worked the January 6th case.
No, that's right, Lester. James Jim Dennehy, who oversaw the FBI's New York office, says he was told he needed to retire. A former Marine who joined the FBI after 9/11 has an extensive history hunting spies and foreign operators as well as terrorists. Last month, he promised to, quote, dig in during the FBI's battle over handing over those names of those involved January 6 agents. In a goodbye email today, he did not say why he was told to leave, but said he had an immense feeling of pride for the way the FBI conducts its investigations. He added, "I will never stop defending this joint."
All right, Tom, thanks very much. Tonight, President Trump's push for peace talks to end the war in Ukraine are in limbo, with the president saying Ukraine's President Zelensky needs to be more appreciative of American aid, while European leaders are strongly backing Zelensky. Here's Gabe Gutierrez.
Tonight, more than 3 years into Russia's war in Ukraine, President Trump says potential peace talks are not dead, but the next move is up to Ukraine's President Zelensky.
I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin.
President Trump today firing back after Zelensky said overnight a peace deal was still very, very far away.
He said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that.
Negotiations with Ukraine on a deal to share the country's mineral wealth as payback for U.S. aid, seen as a first step in the broader peace process, collapsed following Friday's diplomatic disaster in the Oval Office.
You're gambling with World War III.
Two administration officials tell NBC News Trump's team has discussed whether to pause U.S. military aid to Ukraine, though it's not clear whether the president will do it.
Well, I haven't even talked about that right now.
Top administration officials saying Zelensky needs to express more regret for Friday's explosive confrontation.
Time is not on his side. Time is not on the side of just forever continuing this conflict. The American people's patience is not unlimited. Their wallets are not unlimited.
Zelensky this weekend getting support at an emergency meeting of European leaders. His tension with the White House now prompting concern about the future of NATO and Trump's relationship with Russian President Putin. A U.S. official tells NBC News that in late February, before Friday's Oval Office showdown, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered U.S. Cyber Command to stand down on offensive cyber operations against Russia. The Kremlin now saying the White House's foreign policy largely coincides with our vision, troubling for Trump's former national security advisor, H.R. McMaster.
Vladimir Putin couldn't be happier because what he sees is all of the pressure on Zelensky, all of the pressure on Ukraine, and no pressure on him.
President Trump then posting, we should spend less time worrying about Putin and more time worrying about illegal immigration and crime. Today, pressed about the Kremlin statement, Trump arguing he's been tough on Russia. His focus now is getting people to negotiate.
It takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. I gave Russia nothing except grief. I gave them nothing. I gave them sanctions, and they say how close I am to Russia. And let me tell you, we have to make a deal because there are a lot of people being killed that shouldn't be killed.
Kate, let me turn to you now. President Zelensky just made new comments about all this. What did he say?
Yes, Lester, Zelensky said tonight Ukraine is grateful for U.S. support, but he reiterated the need for U.S. security guarantees as part of any peace deal. The White House says that's a non-starter and that the minerals deal is essentially a security guarantee. Lester.
All right, Gabe, thanks. Now to the Trump administration's efforts to cut federal spending and Elon Musk's new comments about Social Security making headlines as well. Ryan Nobles reports on the backlash tonight.
Tonight, Democrats are pushing back on Elon Musk's effort to slash the size of the federal bureaucracy. And now zeroing in on his comments about Social Security's finances.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
The richest man in the world is telling Americans that earned benefits that they depend on and they paid into are a scam. They are not a scam, and Americans know it.
Social Security currently pays out more money to recipients than it takes in taxes. The Social Security Administration announcing it will cut costs by cutting 7,000 jobs, saying they're focusing on employees who do not directly provide mission-critical services. President Trump has pledged there will be no cuts to Social Security benefits. Meanwhile, DOJ's next target for spending cuts, the Pentagon's budget, which President Trump says he asked Musk to go through.
Check out the Pentagon, which is the military, and, sadly, you'll find some things that are pretty bad.
Musk touting the cuts so far.
It's a target-rich environment for saving money. It's not like if it was a very well-run ship.
And Musk saying DOJ is following the lead of the independent watchdog, the GAO, which estimates the federal government loses between $233 to $521 billion annually to fraud. But tonight, new pushback.
If you're rude, which you're being, I'm going to leave.
Kansas Republican Senator Roger Marshall forced to leave a town hall early to avoid a hostile crowd. President Trump calling the protesters, without evidence, paid troublemakers.
We don't need paid protesters, bro. The American people are with us.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth informing all civilian employees they must respond to Musk's email asking for a list of the 5 things they accomplished for the week. Lester?
Ryan Nobles tonight. Thank you. Now to Germany, where a car ramming attack killed 2 people and injured several others. This was the moment a car sped through Mannheim. Officials say a 40-year-old German citizen was arrested. It's the latest attack after similar ones in other German cities in recent weeks. So far, officials say there's no apparent link to terror. Now to Illinois, where the accused gunman in the 2022 4th of July shooting in Highland Park today pled guilty, just moments before the trial was set to begin. Our Shaquille Brewster is at the courthouse. Shaq, this was quite the reversal.
That's right, Lester. Robert Crimo III pleading guilty to 69 counts of murder and attempted murder. It was a change in plea that shocked many in that courtroom. It happened just minutes after a prosecutor started to set up a display board for opening statements. In 2022, prosecutors say Crimo killed 7 people and wounded 48 others after he climbed atop a building and started shooting into the crowd gathered for a suburban Chicago 4th of July parade. Tonight, one survivor telling me she was stunned inside that courtroom, but added there's a sense of collective relief, especially after Crimo went back on a plea deal that was set just last year. Crimo is set to be sentenced later next month on April 23rd. He faces life in prison without the possibility of parole, which is the toughest sentence in the state of Illinois. Lester?
Shaq Brewster, thank you. In 60 seconds, what newly revealed court documents are saying about TikTok's alleged failure to moderate content that could harm kids. All right, let's turn now to the ongoing legal battles facing TikTok and a major development in a lawsuit brought by 13 states and Washington, D.C. Savannah Sellers joins me now. Savannah, this lawsuit alleges the app doesn't do enough to protect young users.
Lester, that's exactly right. And today, in fact, a judge cleared the way for it to move forward. That judge also partially unsealed the complaint, and that allowed us to see what the D.C. Attorney General says is never before seen data proving exactly what you mentioned, Lester, that the app fails to protect kids. It alleges that an alarming amount of harmful content is not removed from the app, including a third of content dealing with minor sexual solicitation and post-normalizing pedophilia. Here's another thing. Kids are also able to easily bypass age restrictions. The Attorney General citing internal TikTok data showing up to 70% of kids 13 to 15 falsely reporting their age. Now, for TikTok's part, they say these numbers are misleading, cherry-picked, out of date. They say they stand by their efforts, which include robust safety protections. Lester?
Okay, Savannah, thank you for that. We're back in a moment with the rush for Real ID. The clock is ticking for you to get one. And after years of delays, the TSA is saying they're serious this time if you want to fly. Tonight, the clock is ticking to the deadline for Americans to get a real ID if they're hoping to fly after May 7th. Tom Costello now on what you need to know to make sure you don't face delays at the airport.
64 days till the government's Real ID requirement takes effect. And while the TSA says it has the flexibility to phase in enforcement, it is strongly urging anyone planning to fly to have a Real ID or passport by May 7th.
If you don't have a Real ID as of May 7th,
it will be significantly more difficult and you will be delayed at checkpoints within airports across America.
Nationwide, the TSA says 78% of flyers already have Real IDs, but nearly a quarter don't. To get a Real ID, you'll need to provide an ID or documentation that includes full legal name, DOB, social security number, lawful status, and 2 proofs of address, which could include a payroll stub, rent, or mortgage payment. With long lines at DMVs nationwide, states are spreading the word.
Your Real ID is your most important carry-on.
Real IDs have a star in the card's upper corner, while California has a bear and a star. While 99% of Maryland is already Real ID compliant, just over 30% of Illinois is.
We're doing everything we can here in Illinois, but again, I've got tremendous fears for chaos at our airports across the country.
Congress passed the Real ID security law after 9/11 on a recommendation from the 9/11 Commission.
Next year, make sure you have the star on your ID.
But Congress has hit the pause button many times. Now, a new May 7th deadline. But if you're not flying until the summer, there's no reason to rush to your DMV right now.
Tom, I also want to ask you about an investigation underway into some strange automated cockpit warnings in the skies over Washington's Reagan Airport. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right. The FAA is looking into why a dozen planes received automated warnings of a potential collision with other planes while approaching Reagan National, even when there was no potential conflict. It's not clear if this was radio interference, but there's no indication it was nefarious. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello, thank you. There is news about Pope Francis's health appearing to have a setback today as he battles double pneumonia. The Vatican revealing that he suffered 2 respiratory episodes at the hospital and that he is back on ventilation. The 88-year-old pontiff was said to have rested well last night. When we come back here this evening, her iconic portraits of SNL stars are seen for just a few seconds every show. Ahead, how Mary Ellen Matthews' work is being immortalized. And there is good news tonight about the photographer who has captured every star of Saturday Night Live in her own way for more than 25 seasons, and even our own Joe Fryer.
There we go. Good. Yep. Great. Great.
Week after week, Mary Ellen Matthews is looking for something.
That lightning strike through the camera, you see somebody, really see them there.
A split second of magic, portraits of the host and musical guests that bookend the commercial breaks during Saturday Night Live.
This is all from last season.
They also bookend the halls outside Studio 8H.
This is Timothy Chalamet in Central Park?
Yep. He wanted to go to Central Park, and who's going to say no to that?
Known as bumpers, each photo only gets a few seconds of TV airtime, but now many are immortalized in Mary Ellen's new book out Tuesday, The Art of the SNL Portrait. On the cover, Andy Samberg playing the part of a cocktail garnish.
Thursday is the day you do these shoots, and that's kind of in the middle of total chaos, right?
Yes.
How do you make it work?
In the studio, the musical guest is rehearsing while we're shooting, so it's very loud. It's hard for us to communicate because we're shouting like, can you keep it down over there, Rolling Stones or whoever.
She has been SNL's resident photographer since 1999, working with hundreds of subjects from sophisticated legends.
Wow, that's it. Yes, good. I love this. Now, yes,
to this clumsy journalist posing as an old-fashioned news hound.
Great, and then now you're typing away, you're putting the phone down, don't ever call me again. Yes, good.
Yet no matter who's in front of her lens, lightning does strike, powered by a flash. Joe Fryer, NBC News, New York.
And that is Nightly News for this Monday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.